What's the deal with gaming monitors? Why are people so hyped about them? What makes them different from regular monitors? Do you even really need one? And how do you know which one to get? We're going to get into all of that today.
In the courtyard.
Team wipe, let's get out of here.
Choosing a monitor can be one of the more complicated decisions in your PC gaming setup. There are a lot of factors to consider, but it's mainly about one thing: refresh rate. Refresh rate is how quickly the monitor can update what's being shown on the screen. This is measured in hertz, which is the unit for cycles per second. Most standard TVs and monitors operate at 60 hertz, which means that regardless of how many frames your GPU is pumping out, a standard monitor can only display a maximum of 60 frames per second. So why does this matter? Why are there 144 Hz, 240 Hz, and even 360 Hz monitors now? Well, there are two major benefits to having a high refresh rate. If your computer is producing inconsistent frame rates, it can result in choppy visuals, and in a first or third person game, this may cause some people to experience motion sickness. If you're watching this video at 60 frames per second, you should be able to see how smooth this looks compared to 30 frames per second. The second benefit, and the one that competitive gamers really care about, is the amount of visual information that you are able to receive from the computer into your eyeballs. The higher refresh rate will always give you a more up-to-date and accurate representation of what's actually going on in the game. Here's some footage from Valorant in normal playback speed. If we watch it again in 120 and 30 frames per second at 25% speed, you can easily see how smooth the left side is and how rough things look at the lower frame rate. You may also have noticed a bit of lag. A 120 Hz monitor can display the next frame about 8 milliseconds faster than a 60 Hz monitor. This affects not only your accuracy, but your reactions to what's going on in the game as well. In this comparison, we can definitely see that lower frame rates appear to lag due to the missing frames. Watching it again, we can see that the frames do sync every once in a while. Now this doesn't seem like much, but remember, it's only one factor in the entire lag chain, from your computer, to your reaction time, to the ping with the server, and a serious gamer wants to shave off milliseconds wherever they can. To demonstrate the importance of these tiny margins, we're gonna watch my friend D. Lee using the op in Counter-Strike. It all happens very quickly, and it may be difficult to understand what's going on, so we're gonna watch that again in slow motion. As D. Lee jumps behind cover, he sees a guy hopping across the doorway, and now he has that information. So he scopes in to peek, sees this guy's foot, and that's enough information for him to blast him through the white cloth. D. Lee then repositions behind a box. As he's hopping up, D. Lee spots the second guy and blasts him too. He hops up to peek again, sees a guy jumping, and shoots him out of the air. As this third enemy's body is falling, his buddy comes through the doorway, and once again D. Lee has that visual information. He peeks from the lower angle again, sees the enemy, and flicks over to take him out. In a span of about 8 seconds, D. Lee has cleared this area of 4 enemies. He eventually finds that last enemy player and takes him out for the ace. You'll also notice that a lot of games have the option for vertical sync or V-sync. The frame rate being outputted by your GPU will not always match up with the refresh rate of your monitor, so what happens is the screen will display part of the previous frame and part of the next frame. This is known as screen tearing. This isn't exactly pleasing to the eye, and it can make gameplay feel like it's stuttering. So V-sync makes gameplay smoother by waiting for the entire frame to be rendered before sending it to the monitor. The biggest problem with V-sync is that it can cause input lag, which is a delay between you giving input and seeing it happen on the screen. While this isn't the end of the world for single-player games, it's undesirable for competitive multiplayer. Both Nvidia and AMD have developed their own versions of syncing, which finds a balance between the refresh rate and frame rate so that you can get the smoothest experience with minimal lag. Monitors with G-Sync or FreeSync can operate at a variable refresh rate to match the output of your GPU. Theoretically, this can still give you the slightest of input lag, so most esports pros don't use any syncing to eliminate as much lag as possible, and because screen tears are less noticeable at high refresh rates. Next, we have size and resolution. I had been using an iMac for photo and video editing, so I really wanted 27 inches rather than the more conventional 24-inch so that I could have more space to work with. At 27 inches, 1080p is kind of low resolution, but 4K is really expensive, so I decided to go with 1440p. Next, I found out there's three main types of LCD screens to choose from: TN, IPS, and VA. Basically, they have different methods of utilizing the liquid crystals to control the pixels. It's all very technical stuff, but what's important to know is the advantages and disadvantages of each one. I wanted an IPS panel so that I could have pretty good color accuracy for editing. It's got better viewing angles, color, contrast, and overall just a better experience watching movies or playing games. I initially landed on an LG Ultra Gear. It's 27 inches, 1440p, 144 Hz, 1 millisecond response time, so it's as fast as a TN panel, less ghosting than most monitors, and even a lot of TN panels. I then found out there's a Lenovo Legion monitor that uses the same panel as the LG, but with a 165Hz refresh rate and has a sturdier build, so here we are. So we've got the foot. Instructions. This is probably important. The panel feels high quality and is designed with an industrial look. Alright, so we've got the boomerang here. We're supposed to put the post on this first. So let's do that. Here's the post. It goes like that. And I guess we have to... So it goes here. This is all metal. Sturdy, pretty cool design, rubber feet. You have this for the wire. Okay. So there's a hook for your headphones. It has the standard HDMI and DisplayPort. The monitor also functions as a USB hub with one port on the bottom and two on the side along with the headphone jack. And we've got the controls on the front. So I mentioned ghosting. What is ghosting? Ghosting has to do with objects moving across the screen, sometimes exhibiting a sort of motion blur, and this is produced by the screen itself and shouldn't actually be there. The way an LCD panel works is that it uses specific voltages to change the alignment of the pixels, which affects the color and contrast. If it takes too long for the pixels to change their alignment, what you end up seeing are pixels that are still in transition, and that causes sort of a ghost trail that follows the moving objects. I ran the UFO test on the monitor, and there is a bit of ghosting in the default setting. A lot of monitors have overdrive, which accelerates the transition of the crystal alignment and reduces ghosting for a cleaner image. But when too much is applied, the crystals tend to overshoot their target configuration and you get inverse ghosting, which leaves a different trail but still gives a cleaner image overall. At the end of the day, ghosting isn't really that big of an issue. A lot of pros use monitors that do exhibit ghosting, and it's less noticeable at high refresh rates. I've been using this monitor for a few months now, and I'm really happy with it. The colors look great, and everything just feels silky smooth. Switching to a high refresh rate monitor feels like I went from trying to run on sand to skating on ice. In a lower requirement game like Valorant or Counter-Strike, where I'm getting consistently high frame rates, G-Sync made things run even smoother. In a game that taxes the system a bit more like Call of Duty, where I'm usually getting anywhere from 90 to 120 frames per second, G-Sync definitely helped to smooth out the experience. And here's a cheat sheet for the factors to consider when choosing a gaming monitor. So, should you get a gaming monitor? If you're serious about competitive gaming where frame rates and milliseconds matter, then having a high refresh rate will definitely give you an edge. Will it make you a better gamer? Not necessarily. but it will give you a smoother, more enjoyable computer experience regardless of gaming, and that's what really matters anyway. I hope this helps to give you a basic understanding of gaming monitors and of how to choose one. Please like, subscribe, share this with your friends, connect with me on the socials, stay safe, and I'll see you next time.
Last player standing.
Oh god.
Thirty seconds left.
3.
One enemy remaining.
You're insane, dude.
This is
Yeah, motherfucker.